thought I had my camera going and it was not
Why
going.
is this so? Okay, so this looks like. Do you remember setting a time when you need setting? Okay, so
I'm sure he set it for 10.
9:45. So are you on the actual channel of the company? Let's go with the private user. It's not you, because it might be going. No,
it's not. I checked it earlier.
See how it says going live?
Yeah, but it won't.
Let's click off this. Let's see. How did you get here again? You came in here, right?
Yeah.
Settings. That's where you did it?
No.
Nope.
Oh no, we were trying
Where's
everything.
this one? There's somewhere where we went. It's let me go back up. We go to live.
Yeah.
It was here somewhere. It's like
Yes, right there.
you
Be on
live
my
control room.
And
See?
go live. Which I think is the right way to do it. I wonder if it's my computer.
There it
So
is.
I was wondering, can I do it from my phone? Because I'm logged in. Yeah. So
Would you pick it up?
It's going to be again settings.
Anyway, it's just, if you just happen to, somebody bumps it when they come in, it would be nice if you knew that it got bumped.
The same process.
The front runner, you can send the runner to the front row and say, hey, it needs readjustment. If you could keep an eye on that camera so it's, if you see it face down or something like that, it's like, thank you so much.
Thank you. This is what I think you should do. Can you switch Wi-Fi? Let's change to your phone's Wi-Fi. This is the guest in this building. Maybe there's somebody that's going.
Oh,
We can
so
go
the
away.
hotspot?
Yeah, it's a hotspot from your phone. Let's just try that.
Yep.
Let's see if that works. I'll turn this off. I'm gonna turn on the Wi-Fi. What's your?
It'll be. It should automatically come up.
Okay, so let's just see. That
That's
phone?
iPhone
Okay.
too.
It's automatically. Let's just see if this works. Sometimes the internet. It's you.
Yeah, it's connecting to my VPN, but that should work just fine. Since it's
And Vicky Belnap will be Forrester and Kirk Belnap companies. Thank you so much. And then our invitation be given by Cheryl, Family
hands that have been here to make this possible for us. We ask that you bless us this day and those who are speaking and participating in the program this day, that thy spirit be with us and with them. We ask that you bless those who are still traveling, and for us who are traveling back home, that we'll be blessed with safety. We say these things, Father, in the name of our Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much. Just a little note, be careful when you're coming down the center aisle. You can move with your stay low so that the video recording is as good as it can be. We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Michael Gray from the Mark Virginia. After that, Matt or Purcell will lead us in the family roll call. Right here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Purcell. I'm the secretary for the Belnap Family Reunion. I've been in this role for 10 years, and Brent Belnap and the other officers won't let me off. So, pleased to be here. The Belnap Family Organization roll call is a family tradition that has taken place for many years at these reunions. And there are three purposes for doing the family roll call. The first is to get to know your family ancestors better and the Belnap family. The second is to get to know who's here. And the third is to perpetuate or create new family rivalries and jealousies. We're able to accomplish those three purposes here today. So the first, we're going to do a family roll call by family branch. Now, I'm hoping everyone knows what family branch they belong to. If you do not, then here's your chance to be adopted by a family branch. I encourage Augustus Weaver. Okay, that's my own personal bias. In fact, short story, when I first was, I was in New York City, and I met Brent Belnap at a fireside, and I came up to him and I said, you know, my grandma's a Belnap. And he said, really? What branch of the family are you from? And I said, yes. So that actually encouraged me to learn a little bit more about my ancestry, and it's been a great journey. So let's start by family branch. And these are the children of Gilbert, and then either Adeline or Henrietta Belnap. So the first, Gilbert Rosal. If you are from the Gilbert Rosal branch, if you could please raise your hand. All right. All right, keep them raised. Keep them raised. We haven't counted you yet. Looks like 9. Okay. John McBride Belnap. There are no descendants here from John McBride Belnap because he was the toddler that passed away on the trek west. Reuben Belnap. You're with Reuben. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Joseph Belnap. 1, 2, 3. Steve, hold strong. Well done. 3. Martha Jane. Oh boy.
Go Martha. Woo!
20. Hiram. Augustus Weaver. Oh boy. Anyone want to be adopted? I know my son's up 4, but I think there's like 25. All right, we have only again no descendants, died young. Vincent Knight. Vincent Knight, going once. All right. Amasa. Is that correct? Amasa. I apologize. 3, equal high. Kids. Oh, these are little ones. Why are those kids? 12, is that right? Okay. How many, Larry?
You got 13 total.
All right, 13. Adeline Lorinda. Adeline Lorinda. Mary Louisa.
That's on the other side.
8.
Put him back here on the table. Don't walk.
Lola Elmira. Anyone? Okay. William James. Oh, where are we at? What was that?
You have one more.
I don't see them. Okay, fine. Thank you. Oliver. Wow. All right, how many are there?
50, just right 50.
Was 50 the correct number?
Recount.
Francis Marion. Hey, I got his vote. 34. Isidora Estella. Strong. 2 in the back. Okay. So I think, is that Oliver that won? So here from Oliver, we have some special treats. Here, prize at the end. What do you want to hand out? Oliver, raise your hand. You just take one dust now. family branch. We're going to do it by generation. So the way this is done is Gilbert, Adeline, and Henrietta, is that first generation? So, first generation would be Gilbert, Adeline, and Henrietta. I assume they're not with us today, in person at least. So that would be the first generation. Second generation would be their children. The third generation would be their grandchildren, in onwards, okay? And we're gonna get people to stand up on this one based on which generation they are. So first generation, we don't have any. Their children have all deceased, so we don't have them. But here are some of the statistics from that second generation, the children. It is all available on the belnapfamily.org website. Amazing resources. Okay. So the grandchildren, we do know that we do not have any living grandchildren of Gilbert, Adeline, or Henrietta. It looks like the last one passed away roughly 13 years ago. Okay, great-grandchildren. We're hoping this is where it starts to get exciting. Do we have any great-grandchildren here today? We have all right, so yeah, the gentleman in the back. So for those great grandchildren, the fourth generation, what branch are you from? Hiram? Hiram. What's your great or what's family branch? 5. Okay. All right. So now for the great-grandchildren, the fifth generation, if you could please stand. All right, thank you very much. So of that generation, we know of at least 1,857 of you. So not exactly fully represented in this room today, but thank you for coming. So that's, in French, when we say closed but not terminated, we need some family history terminology. Please.
So no more are going to be born if the generation is closed. So my generation, fifth generation, great-great-grandchild of Gilbert Belnap, there's no parents, so there's no more of us who can come. So there's 1,857, that's what it is. But the generation is not terminated because we're still alive. Some of us. So we're closed, but not terminated. But starting with the next generation, as Matt will walk us through, the generation is open because there's still possibility for children to be born, and it's not terminated. People are still being born and they're still alive. So
Thank you for not being terminated. All right, third great-grandchildren, so the sixth generation. Now that is a great generation. All right. bigger. So there's known 4,766 individuals in this generation. Wow. And it remains open. Could be more. Let's get to the fourth great grandchildren, so 7 generations. Please stand. So this is a very large generation. We have 4,555 known individuals. What's fascinating to me is the birth range. This generation started in 1960 and remains ongoing. It's a large demographic. So let's get to the 5th great grandchildren, 8 generations. Do we have any of those here today? All right, we only know 892. Oh, we have one. All right, I think we're stretching the limits here. Okay, so this 4th bullet point says, due to the extending years of growing overlap with previous generations, births are now occurring simultaneously over generations 6 through 9, 4 generation levels, all taking place at the same time. Members of Generation 9 will continue to be born long after all descendants who are living today, regardless of generation level of birth. So the last member could be born in over 150 years from now, 175 years from now. All right, 7 great grandchildren, 10 generations. We don't know of any, but it's likely that it's already started, estimated around 2022. The potential final size of this generation alone is over 100,000 individuals. The Gilbert, Adeline, and Henrietta family continues to grow. So total descendants in our family database. This includes natural born and adopted children, but not including spouses. Total direct descendants, 12,851. Descendants, including spouses, current and former, 18,619. Always encouraging that our former spouses are included and still in the family. And direct descendants who are known to be deceased, over 1,400. So the estimated total number of direct descendants, somewhere between 15,500 and 18,000, which is believed on average at least one new descendant of Gilbert Belnap is now born every day. So this is a little fascinating. Descendants of Gilbert Belnap are known to have been born in at least 48 U.S. states, 2 U.S. territories and districts, and 19 foreign countries. What's fascinating is the U.S. states where no known descendants at least are known to have been born is New Hampshire and Vermont, which is curious because that is so close to the area in which the Belnaps originated from here in the United States. Foreign countries where descendants are known to have been born include the following. Fascinating list. And the importance of our family records shouldn't be understated. That is why we have family representatives representing each family branch of this organization, is to make sure we are accurately collecting the information and storing the information so that Gilbert, Adeline, and Henrietta's descendants are known. Okay, we now have some special recognitions. The family branch with the most attendance we already established. Martha Jane. No, sorry. All of them. Who traveled the farthest to get here? What do we have? Yell it out.
DC.
What? Where?
DC.
Washington, D.C.?
Houston, New York.
Houston, Texas? Which part of New York? Where? Really fast, our distance between Salt Lake City and Elmira and DC. I think DC and Elmira are furthest.
There's someone here.
Where do we have?
Austin, Brazil.
Oh, Boston. We need to put that again. Boston.
Brazil? He lived there for you. What? He lived there for you.
So we're going to calculate that mileage.
We think you won, and we're going to check.
And whoever is the furthest will get a prize. Person who traveled the least distance. Okay, so Boston won the furthest. And then the least furthest, sorry, there were a few hands over here. So you said 2 miles. 2.4.
Maybe
2.4.
they're walking distance.
Who's walking distance? What kind of walker? Olympic walker or slow walker?
I have to I guess it's about a mile.
Okay. So the furthest and the closest are sitting next to each other.
Same brand.
Same brand. Okay, and so we have 1 mile. Can anyone beat 1 mile?
7/10 of a mile.
All right, what branch? 7/10 of a mile?
William James.
William James. Wow, congratulations. That was quite the sacrifice to get here. All right, let's get the oldest person in attendance. All right. What was that? Okay, so Jim, how old? 89. Okay, 96, Ron? Can someone beat 96? Let come on the pressure truck. So in these gift bags for these special recognitions, there's some Belnap Family merch or swag, but there's also a DNA test included. So that's not to confirm you're a member of the Belnap family. We're not verifying that here today. No, that's just as a helpful resource for you when identifying your ancestors and genetic markers. So thank you for putting those together. So Ron, it's a privilege that you're here with us. What an honor. Okay, we have one more gift bag. Oh.
The only ones with the K. Belnap with the K.
Oh, Belnap with the K. So Brent is going to talk about the Belnap with the K a little bit later. So that's a privilege. Yeah, so the K, Brent will talk about that. That's an important piece. Okay, the youngest person in attendance, and you have to be honest about your ages, everybody. Kurt, sorry, no, not behind it. Okay. I see a baby here. How old? 11 months. Speak up if you're less than 11 months. All right, and what branch? All right, thank you for that, everyone. It is always fun to see the different family branches do those special recognitions. It's an honor that everyone's here today together. I've also been tasked with presenting the next term of Belnap Family Organization officers. So this is for the term of 2024 to 2026. And it's proposed that Larry Julian is going to be the president, Michael Gray is first vice president, so that person will become the next president. Second vice president, Brent Belnap, that's a stationary position, myself as secretary, and Steve Belnap as treasurer. Now, I will note here for a second that you may be wondering who these people are in the pictures. I think our senior pictures from high school were used here. But you can see what I looked like when I started volunteering for this organization. Look at what you've done to me. Okay? I have aged significantly from when I started. So if you thought you were electing young people, you're actually not. So those are your officers. We have some committee chairs. The choir editor, Don Hammond, genealogist Mark Goodmanson, family historian and webmaster Brent Belnap, technology director Ashley, thank you for your help today. And these last three lines, I don't know exactly what those are. Genealogy committees, thank you. We have an advisory board here, which are comprised of past presidents of the Belnap Family Organization. And then we have your family representatives. If you don't know your family representative, please get to know that person. They're responsible for collecting all of the information for your branch or for the family. And if you're from Isidora Estella, please meet with us afterwards because you could be there. We have some alternate family representatives as well. And some additional family representatives. The Hiram branch of the family has really broken it down further between the next generation and having individuals assist the family representative in collecting information. And if you're not already, please keep in touch. We have a great Belnap Family Organization website with all of the genealogy and family history information, photographs, journals, letters, just a wealth of information. Feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, including on YouTube. We have a great YouTube channel with our past videos that Ashley put together. We're supposed to be live streaming this, but we had some technical difficulties, so apologies for those who were anticipating watching this. And then the Belnap Family Crier is our family newsletter. There are multiple copies out there. Older versions are free. Please grab them on your way out. Newer versions do cost a little bit for printing. Please be sure to submit your information if you haven't already. Really, our organization is only as reliable as the information that we collect. We always suggest donations for those who donated to attend this reunion. We thank you. Your generosity helps us to put together this reunion and continue the great wealth of resources that we have. If you're interested in volunteering, please grab a family representative or a member of the officers. We'd love to talk to you, love to get you involved in the family organization. Thank you to everyone who put together this reunion. Thanks to Brent for putting together the roll call information. This is always helpful, and thank you for your time and attendance. Thank you, Matt. All right, so we are now on for our video premiere of the Life of Gilbert Belnap, Part 3. I asked you down there. Ashley? Thank you
so much. We so much appreciate all the work. There's so much work goes on with all these.
Okay, so this is the third and final video on Gilbert. We have, as Matt said, on the YouTube channel, part one, kind of his birth up to arriving in Kirtland is on there. Part two is kind of his conversion years and his literal come to Jesus after some physical issues in his life, finally getting baptized. This is our last and final installment that we're kind of naming the Pioneer Years. We also have on the YouTube channel, we have a video on Henrietta's from her 200th birthday. Right, that big monumental date for her.
Gilbert Belnap joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on September 11, 1842 in Kirtland, Ohio. This decision would be the catalyst for a life dedicated to the gospel for Gilbert. He ended up serving multiple missions and in many different callings for the church, including an assignment to protect the prophet Joseph Smith. Gilbert deeply loved Joseph Smith. It was said that for the rest of his life, on each June 27th, the time of Joseph's martyrdom, Gilbert would mark the fateful hour in silent remembrance of Joseph Smith. Following Joseph's death, Gilbert continued to be heavily involved in promoting the safety of Latter-day Saints in Nauvoo as persecutions against the saints continued. During this time, Gilbert was also courting Adeline Knight. On December 21st, 1845, Gilbert and Adeline married. They were married by Heber C. Kimball in Adeline's father's red brick home on Main Street in Nauvoo. Adeline's journal describes the day. Adeline was young and beautiful with a heavy mass of black curls, dressed in a dainty white dress made with her own hands. No less handsome was the bridegroom who towered over his tiny bride. In early February 1846, Gilbert and Adeline were forced to flee from Nauvoo. Gilbert, a trained wagon maker, had made their wagon with his own hands before leaving. While in Campton, Iowa, Gilbert and Adeline made several trips with their wagon back to Nauvoo for provisions, crossing the ice of the frozen Mississippi River.
The western shore of the Mississippi was dotted with the canvases of the saints drawn over wagons and made into a well-formed camp. A few poles were covered with threadbare sheets over the indolent forms of the more unfortunate. The suffering was intense. Many is the time, while keeping the watchman's post in the darkness of night, I wept over the distressing situation of the saints. Often the rains descended as if the windows of heaven were open, sharing my tears. Through mud and water, we wended our way across the bluffs on the Missouri River.
Gilbert and his family continued their trek across Iowa to the Missouri River during the spring of 1846. When the Mormon battalion was mustered into service, Gilbert's skills as a wheelwright and carpenter were much in demand. Adeline drove their wagon team the rest of the way across Iowa to the Missouri River, stopping at Cold Springs on the west side of the Missouri River. Gilbert rejoined Adeline later in the summer of 1846. After traveling on and arriving in winter quarters, Gilbert built 2 log huts, one for his family and one for his mother-in-law, Martha. That winter on January 8, 1847, Adeline gave birth to her and Gilbert's first child, Gilbert Rosal.
20 years later, in 1846, 1847, my family remained in winter quarters. After providing them with food and every other comfort that they might have, I went to Missouri.
release, Gilbert built a log cabin for his family in Fremont County, Iowa. Gilbert established a shop for himself and obtained all the work he was able to perform. On May 11, 1849, Adeline gave birth to her and Gilbert's second child, John McBride Belnap. By 1850, Gilbert's family was ready to emigrate to Utah. 1 week after departing for the West, Gilbert and Adeline's son, John, took ill with a cholera plague that was sweeping the camp. The 13-month-old child died on June 22nd and was buried near the confluence of Salt Creek and the Platte River. Gilbert emptied his tool chest made of oak boards and which dovetailed together with a tight-fitting lid and placed the boy's body, wrapped in a blanket. Gilbert and his family experienced many hardships while crossing the plains, but they finally arrived in the Salt Lake Valley on September 17, 1850. 2 weeks later, they were sent by Brigham Young to settle in Ogden.
We entered the valley of the Great Salt Lake. At first sight, it impressed us as not a vast desert of dreary waste. The dry and parched soil seemed to bid defiance. By trial and error, it was found that with irrigation, it would produce crops equal to any other country.
Gilbert commenced planting a farm and built a little house of cottonwood logs. Soon after arriving in Utah, Gilbert began a life of almost continuous public service, including marshal, sexton, soldier, sheriff, attorney, county assessor, and various church callings like missionary and bishop. In 1851, Adeline gave birth in Ogden to her and Gilbert's third child, Reuben. 1 year later, on June 26, 1852, Gilbert was sealed to Adeline, his wife of 6 years, and to Henrietta McBride. Henrietta emigrated to Utah in 1851 and was a first cousin to Adeline. As plural wives of Gilbert, Adeline and Henrietta were very close. Their children were also very close. Gilbert's two families initially resided together in a log house in Ogden. 2 children arrived in 1853. Adeline gave birth to her and Gilbert's fourth child, Joseph, and Henrietta gave birth to her and Gilbert's first child, William James. In April of 1855, Gilbert was called to the Salmon River Mission in Idaho. He left Adeline and Henrietta behind with 4 little boys to watch over. About the same time, Brigham Young told Gilbert that as long as his family shared his wheat with others, they would always have wheat at the bottom of their bed. Gilbert returned to the Ogden area throughout his mission to help care for his family. During his mission years, Adeline gave birth to her and Gilbert's 5th child, Martha Jane. Henrietta gave birth to her and Gilbert's 2nd child, Oliver, followed a year later by their 3rd child, Frances Marion. Gilbert penned many letters to his wives while at Fort Lee.
I have an opportunity of sending my love and esteem, together with sending my faith and prayers for your welfare. At present, you must be content with the expression of my sentiments by way of this poor scribbling that you see before your eyes. I wish I possessed the faculty of conveying my feelings to you with an audible fruitfulness. I sincerely pray that you and the family in general are enjoying the same blessing of God. Though I am far separated from you, yet I hope that God will hear my prayer and transmit every blessing to you that is in my heart. Last Sunday, we had many good instructions from the First Presidency. Brother Brigham said he never had seen a better spirit manifest by any band of missionaries. Knowing as I do that the gospel has been restored to the earth in the last days, I still am determined to magnify and make honorable the priesthood with which I am entrusted. No matter how great the sacrifice may be, I am sure you will uphold me in it by your prayers. Write to me every opportunity. May God bless you and the children, is my prayer all the day long. Tell the little boys to live up to the counsel that I gave them.
Gilbert served his mission until the fall of 1857 and returned home right around the time Adeline gave birth to her and Gilbert's 6th child, Hiram. Approximately 3 weeks after Hiram was born, Gilbert and his wives packed a few belongings in poorly sheltered wagons and left their home as participants in the move south on account of the approach of Johnston's army. Gilbert joined Lot Smith's company where they worked to delay the arrival of the impending army. Gilbert later found his brother Thomas among Johnston's soldiers. Thomas ended up spending a month with Gilbert and his family. They did a lot of talking about the things that had happened during their long years of separation. They had not seen each other since 1837. In 1860, Gilbert moved his family to a new location in Ogden on the east banks of the Weber River. Their house consisted of 2 log rooms, with Adeline living in one room and Henrietta in the other. 2 more children joined the family in 1860. Adeline gave birth to her and Gilbert's 7th child, Augustus Weber. Henrietta gave birth to her and Gilbert's 4th and last child, Isadora Estella. In February of 1862, Gilbert was working as an attorney when Adeline gave birth to her and Gilbert's 8th child, Boney, who died less than 1 month later. The second and last of Gilbert's children to die young, Boney was buried in the Ogden City Cemetery in the Gilbert Belnap family plot. On August 4, 1862, Gilbert was elected sheriff of Weber County. He held this elected office until 1870. The citizens of Ogden regarded Gilbert as an exceptionally fine officer of the law. During his tenure as sheriff, he was selected for the dangerous task of delivering payroll from Salt Lake City to Wells, Nevada, for railroad workers constructing the Transcontinental Railroad. Gilbert disguised himself as an old miner to avoid attracting attention from bandits on the lookout for the payroll. A large sum of money was placed in gunny sacks tied to his horse. During the nights, he would tie his horse to his blanket so that he would be awakened if his horse got frightened. Several times, a group of robbers passed him by, paying no attention to the penniless old miner. Later, on this hazardous undertaking, Gilbert had to seek water holes and live off the desert land. Sheriff Belnap was able to safely deliver the payroll to the paymaster. While sheriff, Gilbert welcomed 4 more children. Adeline gave birth to her and Gilbert's 9th child, Vincent Knight, in 1863, their 10th child, Amasa Belnap, in 1866, their 11th child, Adeline Lorinda, in 1868, and their 12th child, Mary Louisa, came the same year Gilbert finished his work as a sheriff. 4 years after that, Adeline and Gilbert had their 13th and last child in June of 1874, with the birth of Lola Elmira. In early 1868, Gilbert moved Henrietta and her 3 youngest children to the new community of Hooper. Henrietta and her children used a wagon box for their first home, which was set on the ground among sagebrush. It contained their bed, clothing, and meager supplies. Without a camp stove, their cooking and baking was done over a campfire using cut sagebrush for fuel. They had no artificial light, not even a candle. During the summer of 1868, Gilbert built for Henrietta a log room. Adeline joined Henrietta in Hooper in 1869. On October 6, 1874, Gilbert was called to serve his 3rd and final mission, a genealogy mission to the United States. In Hooper, Gilbert served as bishop of the Hooper Ward for nearly 20 years. Like their husband, Gilbert's wives were also engaged in public service. Adeline, in addition to her service as Relief Society president in Hooper for 36 years, was the only doctor and midwife in western Weber County for many years. Henrietta had a natural ability to teach. She taught the first school in Hooper, initially in her home and later in a log room a short distance west of her home. Gilbert passed away at his home in Hooper in the afternoon of February 26, 1899, at the age of 77. Gilbert's funeral was held on March 2, 1899, in the Hooper Ward Chapel, and he was buried in the Ogden City Cemetery. Gilbert was survived at the time of his death by his 2 wives and 15 of his 17 children. Gilbert instilled in all of his children his own strong sense of patriotism. devotion to principle, and intense dedication to the restored gospel of Jesus Christ. His descendants now number nearly 10,000. The Belnap Family Organization represents all descendants of Utah pioneer Gilbert Belnap and is today one of the oldest and largest nonprofit family organizations in the United States. Remembering the legacy of Gilbert, Adeline, and Henrietta is a charge for all of their descendants. Gilbert's hope for all of us today was clear when he said,
"May the influence that I have and the priesthood that I bear be used to induce my posterity to seek first the kingdom of God and its future greatness on the earth."
Now have the DNA research breakthrough presentation by Brent, and very much look forward to learning what he's been up to. And hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be with all of you. I have some great news to make. For those of us who are family history nuts, it's some exciting stuff. And if you're not, I hope you'll feel a little bit of the excitement that I hope to transmit to you. More importantly, however, we are at the cusp as a family organization of using the latest science of DNA to make some breakthroughs that go back some 300 years. So I'm going to be sharing today a little bit of a presentation on some of our special projects that we have undertaken as a family organization. And I'm really not a salesperson, especially a used car salesperson, but I have to make a pitch. This is not cheap work, and it's been self-funded. If anybody is at all inspired by some of the information that you will learn about today, I would invite you to visit with me or to speak with somebody who's an officer of the family organization and just ask how you might be of assistance. So I'm going to share a little bit about DNA research, and I want to do this in a way without overwhelming you about the science, but we've got some terms to use. There are basically three kinds of DNA that can now be tested for genealogy purposes. What's called autosomal DNA, that which is tested from your 22 pairs of chromosomes that we all receive, half from our mother and half from our father. There is Y chromosome DNA, which only men have because that's what determines their sex as a male. They receive a Y chromosome from their father and not from their mother, and so they're born as a boy. For women, there isn't really an X chromosome test because a man and a woman also have an X, and a man and a woman both have XY chromosomes. The last kind of DNA that's tested is called mitochondrial, and you know that in every cell, as you remember from your 9th grade biology class, there's this little engine inside each cell called the mitochondria, and that can also be tested for its DNA, which is only passed from your mother. So for men, they can be tested on their Y chromosome. For women and all men who but can't pass it on can be tested for mitochondrial DNA. So with that little bit of science, I'm going to share with you a little bit about autosomal DNA. The kind of test that you would take if you got an ancestry test today. Ancestry.com tests only autosomal DNA. It tells you your DNA, basically going back 8 generations or so with almost absolute 100% certainty, measuring something on your chromosomes that are called centimorgans. The more centimorgans you share with somebody, the closer you are. So I took a DNA test for Ancestry many years ago. My father did, my brother did, our children have, and without a doubt, yes, I'm my father's son, I am my brother's brother, and I am my my children's father. Without a doubt, the centimorgans of science is just so close, it's very clear with the relationships. The further back you go, the fewer centimorgans you share with someone, back to about 8 generations. there is reliable DNA. Now, just imagine, if you will, that down there at the very bottom, there's Gilbert Belnap, the male head on the left, and one of his sisters or his other siblings, and they all have different pieces of DNA that they've gotten from their shared father and mother, paternal, maternal grandparents, all the way back. But they get different amounts of it. It's not exactly the same because they're not identical twins. So I share DNA 50% from my father and my mother, as does my brother Brian, but we don't look alike. He got a little bit more DNA from other ancestors. His 50% from our dad is a little different than my 50% that I got from my dad. Is that clear? That's a fundamental principle for us to explain than what is going on. So there are no more grandchildren, children or grandchildren, as you saw in the roll call of Gilbert Belnap, but there are still great-grandchildren. We have gone out and tested everyone that we can find who is still alive. Of those 590 that are born, less than 8% are still living. They are the last living generation who contain in each cell of their body enough information to tell us what happened 8 generations ago, 300 years ago. And we have had an incomplete family tree. We have not known who some of the direct ancestors are of Gilbert Belnap until now. Let me share. So in going through each one of the branches of the Belnap family who had the 15 children who had living descendants, think of them as their unique individuals, like these Greek columns. They're almost alike, but they're not exactly alike. They vary just a little bit. I'll tell you that it is a very strange experience to go contact somebody. Let's say I'm the person on the far left, lower left corner, and 5 generations back, represented by these concentric rings that then go back to a center person, is Gilbert Belnap, who is our common ancestor. And I know my branch of the family. I know them pretty well. It wasn't weird to call up and say, hey, Ron, who is my father's first cousin once removed, would you mind taking a DNA test? And Ron said, yes. But it is a weird experience to call up somebody who I have never met before in my life and say, hi, my name is Brent Belnap. You don't know me. I'm calling on behalf of the Belnap Family Organization for a special DNA project that only you can help us with because you are a member of the last living generation who can help answer some mysteries. Can I get your DNA? A little weird. 48 have said yes, which is most of those who we can still get. There are still a few, 2 great-grandchildren who have taken tests that haven't provided us with access. They were a little concerned about data privacy. They shouldn't be, but we respect that. And then 4 more that we think, approximately 4 more, we can still take a test. So 48, I have gone out to 32 directly and represented BJB as the owner, the direct acquirer. We've been able to find DNA of all of these columns, all of these 15 branches. 13 of them still had great-grandchildren living to get at least 1 DNA sample. That's important because, again, each one of them got a different piece of Gilbert Belnap than their brother or sister. So by getting a piece of every branch that was still living represented, this is what we found out. But before I tell you what we found out in the exciting news, let me introduce you to some of these people that I've had the opportunity to collect their DNA from. There's Ron right here. Ron, that you remember? You remember getting that at your home? Probably, I wrote. Plus many others who have been very generous. These people have volunteered, at no cost to them, to spit into a tube and wait 6 to 8 weeks for the results to come back so that we could start analyzing what happened further back on our family tree that we have never known. Let me explain. So what have we already learned and what significant breakthroughs have we made in our shared family tree that have been long-standing? This is a brief sketch of just a portion of Gilbert's ancestry. His parents, Rosalind and Jane Richmond, his grandparents on the paternal side, Jesse Belnap and Eunice Hall. We've never really known who Eunice, well, let me step back there. On Jesse Belnap, we've never really known for sure if Jesse Belnap, spelled without the K, born in 1760, was indeed the son of Jesse Belnap, born in 1739, who spelled his name in the old way, the original way, with the K. It's a silent K, not Belknap. It's Belnap, but with Belnap with a K. The reason why, there were two generations of men named Jesse, a father and a son. Both father and son married women named Eunice. Both served in the American Revolution. The first Jesse, born in 1739, lost his first wife Eunice and remarried a woman named Deborah Hathaway. And his first son by his second wife, he also named Jesse. And our Jesse, the first son of the first wife, changed the spelling of his name. We believe he dropped the K, the silent K, reportedly to distinguish himself from his father and or his half-brother, also named Jesse, who kept the K. Now, to make the mystery even more difficult, the court records where Jesse Belnap with the K in 1739 was living in Castleton, Rutland, Vermont were destroyed. And the records where Jesse Belnap, born in 1760, was born in Hebron, Collin County, Connecticut, were destroyed. And where he married in Reading, Fairfield, Connecticut, were burned. Hiram Belnap, my great-grandfather, on a genealogy mission in 1908, went to New England and tried to find everything he could find about Jesse, the father, and Jesse, his two sons. And in light of no conflicting evidence, no evidence to the contrary, he concluded, without documentary evidence, that Jesse Belnap, born in 1760, was indeed the son of a man named Jesse, born in 1739, whose mother was Eunice. But we've never known for sure until today. We have confirmed it definitively through the process of triangulation by testing and comparing the examples of the 48 great-grandchildren, other descendants of Rosalind and Jane, who we are in touch with, other descendants of Jesse Belnap and Eunice Hall, who we are in touch with, and some descendants of Jesse Belnap further back, born in 1739, that indeed Jesse, born in 1760, is the biological son of the Jesse Belnap, born in 1739. In other words, by testing people living today, and without having to exhume a body, find the remains, by testing the science in each cell of our body, through the science of DNA, we have been able to confirm a genealogical story, mystery, going back nearly 300 years. It continues. There is another mystery in our family tree. It was the parentage of Eunice Hall. If you go to Family Search, the family tree and Family Search, there is a lot of erroneous information. We try to correct it, and people mean well, but they kind of don't know what they're doing. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. And, but they say that Eunice Hall was the daughter of this guy named Eleazar Hall and a woman named Mary Lake, and we've disproven it a bazillion times. But nobody's really been able to confirm for sure. Well, let me tell you, through the science of DNA, through these 48 descendants, great-grandchildren of Gilbert Belnap, thank you, Ron, and others, and a number of other people who I have never